Joining us now to discuss diagnosing and treating kids with ADHD is Dr. Richard Abbey. Great to have you on here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so tell us about how you got into working with ADHD.
Well, you know, I had my own struggles as a child with ADHD. And I was getting through life, but I never realized my potential. And then one day I got in a terrible car accident and I lost my memory for 5 years.
Wow.
When I recovered, I went back to school and I was on a mission to figure out how I could actually realize my potential and partially rehab my brain. And later I figured out other things to do, but really started my story. But the clients I worked with really motivated me to take it even further.
Mm-hmm. Well, and how would you say you can diagnose kids with ADHD? What are some of the signs?
So one of those things, if homework is turning in, you know, like a 10-minute homework assignment is turning into a 2-hour battle, it's a good sign. Or there's a trail always left behind, or there's missing assignments, or they knew all the material, but when they went to take the test, it didn't come out, or they made a simple error in the test and you knew they were able to do it. Some of those things where they, you know, they went to their room to go get something to go to school and you never see them again. And you're like, what happened to them?
Mm-hmm. And so I know there's so many different ways that you can treat ADHD. So what are some of the ways that you use?
So one of the things I discovered when I was looking in ways to do this, because the traditional, you get extra time at school, you try medication, it just was maybe helping kids with about 50% of their symptoms. So I went off to figure out what could be done, and with modern technology, neurotechnology, you can actually identify the areas lagging behind that are causing all the symptoms, and you can use that very technology, like a brain gym, to catch those areas up to the ones that are optimized to reduce and sometimes eliminate all of their symptoms.
Yeah, I'm watching this video now. It kind of looks like a fun game almost. What's he doing right here?
This little guy right here is using virtual reality. And so it looks, all of these things look like games that children are playing to them, but we're programming each lens, we're giving them different things to look at. When we're doing different things like brain-computer interface, we're actually, their brain is actually driving the computer games. So the areas that are relatively weak, when they strengthen them, they actually make the computer games work.
Wow, this is so cool. I've never even heard about this type of technology before.
Yeah, I didn't know it existed either until I started looking for it. And I found over 40 different things. And what I discovered also was it's not just the same thing for everybody. So you'll see research studies and it's like, well, this doesn't work for all the kids. It's like, well, of course it doesn't. You wouldn't go to the gym and do like powerlifting if you were going to run a marathon, right?
Yeah.
And so each child needs to have their own nuanced program that fits them, and they can actually take these different areas and permanently strengthen them to overcome ADHD.
And at what age would you say parents should sort of start looking out for some of these signs? Does it come, you know, earlier in the day or earlier in the childhood or later on sometimes?
I would love to live in a world where we look at risk factors, because there's a 50% risk if one of the parents has ADHD that their child is going to have it. And instead of waiting for the signs, we look at it early. But some of the things you're looking for is like, the child is in the classroom and they just can't sit still, right? The teacher's starting to tell you like there's some problems here, or they read a book and they don't remember anything they read, or maybe they start shying away from academics. They're like, yeah, I don't really like school. And if they're not struggling with reading, writing, or math, and they're still having these difficulties, there's probably something kind of holding them back from their potential. And kids should love school. Most kids do that don't have problems. And so start looking into those things.
Yeah. Well, and would you say symptoms appear differently in girls versus boys sometimes?
Oh, man. Girls fly under the radar because boys are in the back of the room and they're doing all these things, and girls are just kind of minding their own business. But they may, you know, who hasn't read a page? And you're like, what I just read? But that happens so often, they don't get, you know, their reading comprehension goes down, or, you know, I haven't seen one parent yet that comes to me and they're wrong. And they're like, man, my child, my little girl is struggling, and I know she can do better than that. And so when you're looking at these things and they're making these errors, their maybe book bag is a mess, or they just can't seem to like follow through on things or procrastinating, those are the things to look for.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all this information. Again, it's really interesting hearing the difference, boys and girls or different ages or all the technology. So, and we had the website up on the screen for people to reach out and learn
Awesome.
more about you. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for having me.